Howdy, folks. I'm a wascally wabbit Brian,
And I'm a rabbit Amber.
and we're gonna go hunt for our wascally ambers. Oops, my face fell off. I'm just kidding about being Elmer Fudd Rabbit, Bugs Bunny person, but we are going to hunt Amber.
No, that's why you asked me on here tonight.
Oh, by the way, I don't know if you've noticed, but we have a special guest here today. The very lovely Rabbit Amber.
I'm very afraid now.
Oh, there's nothing to be afraid of.
Help, people! Help! Send help!
I've been reading too many Reddit stories, and now I'm a menace to society.
Brian's gonna emulate the worst of Reddit.
Yes, exactly. What's the point in reading Reddit if you don't use it as a moral compass and guidance to live your life by? Let's get started. Our first story is titled, "Am I a jerk for using my husband's savings to repurchase the bike that he took from our daughter? Stole." My daughter received a bike from her uncle, my brother, on her 11th birthday. She was over the moon and excited to use it because it was on her birthday wish list for so long. Days ago, I discovered that my husband had reached out to my brother asking for the receipt for the bike and returned it to the store and kept the money for himself while the daughter was at school. The bike was at home. My daughter and I got home and she started crying after noticing that the bike was gone. My husband was home at the time. He told me that he returned the bike and got some money in return to spend on something useful for us since the bike was just there as a distraction. And there was no need for it since we're in the dead of the winter. I was aggravated and lost it on him, saying that it wasn't his and that didn't come from him, and he didn't pay for it, so he had no right to touch it, especially knowing that our daughter had been wanting it for so long. And my brother was decent enough to buy it for her, despite barely having the money to get by. I told him that what he did was theft and insisted that he hand over the money to me so I could repurchase it, but he said he spent it on stuff for the house and doesn't have the money. But I knew about the money that he was stashing away in the bedroom that he forbid me from touching, and took some of it and went out and repurchased the bike while he was out on the next day. He found out and verbally lashed out at me, saying that I should have never touched the money that he was saving for himself, which isn't that much, but I lashed right back, saying that I had to so I could repurchase the bike that he took from our daughter. He explained that he didn't keep the money for himself and instead spent it on necessities for the house, but he was at fault for taking the bike in the first place and was responsible for getting it back. He yelled at me for almost 10 minutes and then stormed outside and started smoking. My daughter asked why her dad was upset, and she no longer wants a bike if dad doesn't want her to have it. But I assured her that's not the case and told her that she shouldn't feel guilty and told her to just focus on enjoying her bike. My husband hasn't stopped grilling me about how I disrespected and undermined him and managed to make our daughter hate him after making him look like the bad guy. I again said that he shouldn't have touched the bike. End of story. He called me a thief
Wish coming from him.
and a juvenile for taking the money from his savings and being sneaky about it. Just like somebody might have snuck away and during the daytime and stolen a bike. Am I the jerk for the way I got my daughter's bike back?
No, I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna fault you here, OP. Like he literally took her bike, and like I can understand if money is tight, but he has a savings that he's setting aside. It sounds like for his own enjoyment, and like
Yeah, yeah.
as a parent, you have to put your kids like needs first. And like first of all, a bike is a very useful present. It's a great form of exercise.
Mm-hmm.
It's something she's been wanting for a long time. Even if it's winter right now, it will be spring and summer someday in the not too distant
Yeah.
future.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
it's not like we're going to be trapped in a winter wasteland forever, hopefully.
yeah. So like
Yeah, I agree with you. I just think that this was completely unnecessary from him, and it sounds like he was making excuses because he just wanted to take the money and spend it on something he thought was useful instead of letting his daughter have a birthday gift.
Right, and it's never mentioned what these necessities are.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm wondering what he actually spent the money on. And again, even if it was things that they needed, he could have dipped into his savings first before returning the daughter's bike, which
Yeah.
again, he didn't spend a cent on.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
he basically just took the money from the brother intended for his niece and pocketed it.
Yeah, well, if I don't know, like I wonder what kind of excuse he gave to the brother about wanting the money, the receipt for it. Because like I think like if I had been in the brother's position, I would have maybe potentially questioned it, about giving him the receipt. Because I mean,
Well, he might have said like, "Oh, like she would like this color better" or something like
yeah.
that. Like he could have given an excuse that like, "Oh, well, she's a little small for this bike or a little
Hmm.
big for this bike. I want a better size." Like there's all kinds of excuses he could have given that might have seemed legit.
Yeah.
So, and who is going to expect that their brother-in-law is going to steal his daughter's bike?
Fair point. Fair point.
Our next story is, am I the jerk for making this condition on attending my brother's wedding? My younger brother Sean is getting married soon. He sent out invitations that included everyone in the family. I found out that he was going to go by the no plus one unless engaged or married rule. I felt confused since I've been in a long term, 7 years now, relationship with my girlfriend, and I was counting on having her to come with me to the wedding. I asked Sean and his fiancee about it and asked if they were aware they were excluding my partner with this rule, and they gave a too bad, so sad type of reaction. But I told him, all right, then he shouldn't expect me to come either. He freaked out and called mom, who said, since I'm the oldest in the family, then my presence at the wedding is a must. I told him I will attend the wedding under this one condition, and that is to have my girlfriend attend with me. Sean tried to pull the she's not official and she's not family crud on me,
Yeah.
but I told him enough. I remained calm yet strict with my condition. Mom said my girlfriend can miss one event, no big deal.
Just one.
And I said I shouldn't be putting conditions on my brother's wedding to force his hand like that. I said that's all I have and left after a huge meltdown from Mom and Sean, accusing me of trying to alter the wedding, disrespecting their beliefs, and pushing my own on them. Oh, and went as far as accusing me of planning to steal the event so I could propose to my girlfriend. Shaking my head. The rest of the family got into it, yelling at me for disrupting the wedding and trying to control and bully my brother into letting me do what I want on his wedding, and said it wasn't about and up to me to put conditions, and went on about how I should support him as his only sibling and a father figure since dad is deceased. But I think I'm trying to stand by my girlfriend in our relationship, and that means so much more to me, but they see it as me choosing her over my brother. Am I the jerk?
I'm going to put this really restrictive clause on the wedding and make sure that it includes your girlfriend, but in the process also make it so that I mean they want to have their cake and eat it too.
Right. Well, and OP is saying, if you don't invite my girlfriend, I won't come.
Yeah.
That's a reasonable
Oh
thing.
yeah,
Like
yeah. I mean, he
OP's,
isn't he isn't like giving them an. I mean, this is kind of an ultimatum,
but
but
it's
it's
about
not.
his attendance.
It's
Like it's not
yeah.
going to cancel the whole wedding.
He isn't being like, if you don't invite my girlfriend, I'm gonna burn the whole place down.
Right. And like this is just like they have a 7 year relationship. Like
Yeah.
I understand that things get a little iffy if you have someone who's been together for like 6 months or something. Like
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
like, I don't think they're gonna be together in like a few months time. We could save that plate for someone else. This is a 7 year relationship. Like we had been together for not married for like 7 or 8 years when your sister got married, and so if she had had like a, I guess we were technically engaged then, but if only married couples can come thing, then like
Mm-hmm.
that would have, which obviously she didn't, but like that would have meant that I couldn't have been there. And this whole, oh well, she's not family, like that's just such a like
Well,
narrow.
exactly. That's a very kind of sad and neglectful type of point of view, and it just enforces at this point in time that the rest of the family does not view OP's partner as family,
Yeah.
which I think is a tremendously short-sighted because they've been in a relationship for 7 years. That's longer than a lot of marriages last.
Right. And so that doesn't, just because they don't have the marriage certificate to go along with it, doesn't mean that their relationship is any less valid.
Yeah,
And I think too many people use either the engagement ring or the marriage certificate as like a marker of a relationship's strength, but not everyone places the same emphasis on marriage. It sounds like
yeah,
Opie has a really committed relationship. It's important to him that she's here with him for this event. And it really is lousy that they would tell her, no, it's not a real relationship, it's not valid because you haven't met our milestone
yeah.
of like what constitutes a relationship.
Exactly. All right, before we get to our next letter, it's tea time. Amber's like, oops, very thirsty apparently.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I need to get a drink of tea.
I thought it's a little scratchy.
Yeah. Um, so today what do you know what tea I have?
I think you have licorice spice.
Yeah, I have licorice spice. I think Amber saw me make it, so she
You
cheated.
told me you were gonna make licorice spice.
or I told her, so she cheated.
Yes. Oh well, you literally made my tea. So do you know what kind of tea I have?
You have mint tea.
I do. In my 8th grade graduation mug.
Yes. So, I know a lot of folks are drinking different beverages. Mary, was drinking Coke the other day. That was that was what she said she was drinking. And June was drinking the Golden Eagles. And yeah, let me know if anyone else has any other beverages out there. I'll feature your beverage on this tea time if you would like. So I always enjoy hearing people's what their beverage of choice is when they watch one of these videos. So, and what could be better than drinking a nice tasty beverage while you watch a video? Speaking of watching nice tasty
Watching nice tasty videos.
tasty videos,
Are we
our
a food channel now?
we are a food channel. Our next letter is titled, and this was not a good segue, by the way. Am I the jerk for yelling at my husband for leaving our daughters at the park while they were waiting for their grandmother? And despite what my segue may have implied, there is no food involved in
No.
this. There is none.
No.
There's no tea drinking either. Just simply misery. So, I'm a 32-year-old female and my husband is a 37-year-old male, and he's always had a bad relationship with his dad. In 2020, some major dispute happened between them, resulting in my father-in-law getting a restraining order against my husband. My husband then hasn't been able to visit his parents anymore. His mom would go to visit us to see her granddaughter, 9 and 7, or take them to visit their grandfather while she babysits. Last week, my husband and I had to work and needed mother-in-law to babysit the girls. But she couldn't come to our house, so my husband took the girls to the park so she could pick them up from there and take them back to the house. Well, I was then at work while mother-in-law called and said that she had an emergency and couldn't come to the park to pick up the girls, and my husband wasn't picking up. I kept calling him, but no reply till an hour later when he had told me that he was already at work and left the girls sitting in the park waiting for mother-in-law. I freaked out and asked how he left them there unsupervised, but he said it was already late for work and figured that his mom would be there in just a few minutes to pick them up. I yelled at him that his mom had just called and said that she couldn't leave home due to an emergency, so the girls are alone at the park. He tried to calm me down, but I left work and drove to the park and found them sitting with a family. I was furious and took them home and waited for him to get home. I lost my ever-loving temper on him, yelling that he shouldn't have left the girls alone no matter what his reason. And he said that he thought his mom would be there in a matter of minutes. Besides, the park was full of families, and it was in the broad daylight and not at like 10 p.m. I basically chewed him out for calling him neglectful and irresponsible and prioritizing work over his kids' well-being. He actually said that I overreacted and was angry at the wrong person and blamed his mom for bailing on him last minute. But I told him to stop using his mom as a scapegoat because it's pathetic. In response, he told me off and went upstairs to check on the girls. That was the last time we talked. Ever since he started avoiding me and only talks to me through the girls, saying stuff like, Daddy couldn't sleep last night because Mommy yelled at him and made him sad. Or Daddy needs an apology to feel better. Acting like I wronged him and it irked me beyond measure.
Yeah, I'm gonna say OP is not the jerk here, and that last paragraph really seals it for me that this is a very potentially a very unhealthy relationship. Like, we can get to the park in a moment, but the thing that really struck me was how he is using the girls, playing on their emotions to try and
Yeah, yeah.
manipulate
I think
OP.
the emotional blackmail here is really bad, like on OP's husband's part. I think that there's a little bit of everyone's the jerk in the situation, but I mean, we'll talk about that in a second.
Well, I think I disagree. I think that the squarely the husband is the jerk, but
Okay. Well, I definitely think the husband is more than a jerk in this situation, and he probably shouldn't have left the kids alone at the park, but they're 10 and 7.
9 and 7.
No, 9 and 7.
I,
So, oh, sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say I don't even think they're legally allowed to be left alone that young. Like I think you have to be like 13. That's something my mom told me. I don't know if it's true or not, but I think
I think it varies from place to place, and it may depend on like the times, because like when I was a kid and I was like that young, I think I would have been left alone and not been a problem. But maybe my parents were looking to have me kidnapped.
I mean I wouldn't necessarily have blamed them given how you were as a child.
So, I mean, I think that in general, kids are able to. A 10-year-old, a 9-year-old is probably capable of being by themselves for short periods of time. I think that this was probably a little bit long to leave them by themselves.
Yeah, and I don't know. It really like I disagree that nine is probably. I think 9-year olds probably in general are not old enough to be alone for periods of time. But that's just my opinion on it. And I understand that he thought his mom was coming, but as a parent, it's still his responsibility to make sure that they get shepherded on to the next person who's taking care of them.
Yeah.
And it sucks that he's going to be late for work, that he's
Mm-hmm.
already late for work, but you do have to kind of put the kids first in that situation. I mean, lots of bad things could have happened, not just kidnapping, because the kids could have been, even if it's broad daylight, the kids could have been kidnapped, but someone could have called child protective services on them, and
Mm-hmm.
then that's going to open a whole, like, that's not going to look good. Like if you leave your kids alone at the park, that child protective services is not going to be happy about that at all.
No.
Um so and rightfully so, because it is not necessarily a responsible thing to do to leave a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old alone at the park, even if you think it's only going to be for 5 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think it depends on the local laws and whatnot. And I think that, like, if there are local laws that say that you need to be a certain age to be left alone, then for sure, it doesn't matter what I have to say here, right? So I think, like, I would need to know what the age of being able to be left alone is for kids in that case. But I do think that he is doing stuff like emotionally trying to manipulate OP. He's trying to make her feel guilty for the thing that he did. And I agree that he should have waited for his mom to arrive, because who knows how long they would have been left alone at the park for.
Right, if his mom hadn't called, then OP wouldn't have, because it was already an
Hmm.
hour. They've been there an hour when OP finally got a hold of him.
Yeah, yeah.
It could have been much, much longer.
Yeah, and I think this really, when I'm saying that a kid can be left alone, I'm not meaning for like, many, many hours or anything like that. I think that, short periods of time for that age are probably appropriate. However, again, I can't stress enough that, I think, an hour was probably a little long for that.
And I want to know more about this restraining order thing. Like, I think
I
there's
do
enough.
too.
There's a lot of red flags in here about her
Yeah,
husband's behavior. Like, if his own father took out a restraining order against him, like,
yeah.
that means a judge had to grant it. So there had to have been a, legitimate
Yeah,
reason for
like
it.
I would be really curious from OP as to why the father-in-law got a restraining order against his own son. Like restraining orders are hard to grant, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, they are. You need evidence that this person poses a threat to you,
Mm-hmm.
basically, and so that, like, I'm really wondering if this guy's even really safe to have as a partner and parent. Like between the emotional manipulation and the restraining order his father has against him, like I think maybe even rethink this relationship.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's fair to at least say because like this whole last part about him emotionally manipulating her, like using the little girls to do this, I think is just about as low as you can get.
Yeah, and well, that's so
Like,
damaging to the kids
yeah.
too. Like,
Well, you
it's
should never be using kids as your, messengers in a relationship, right? Like, they need to be not exposed to, they need to be exposed to adults having reasonable arguments in a reasonable way in an
right.
adult manner because that's how they're going to learn how to have, difficult discussions. And when you use kids as a kind of in between, it doesn't teach them a valuable lesson. It just teaches them that mommy and daddy are petty.
Well, and like they don't understand the context. They don't necessarily
Yeah.
understand like because if I was left alone as a kid, which I don't think I really was a lot, but I wouldn't necessarily understand why it would be a problem. So if he's just like, Daddy couldn't sleep last night because Mommy yelled at him and made him sad, like that's gonna sound really bad to the kids, and he's trying to make her sound like this huge bully,
Yeah.
and that's gonna mess with them.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So
For sure.
all right, our next story is: am I the jerk for telling my girlfriend that she should have her imaginary boyfriend cook dinner for
I
her?
think this one's a little fun.
My girlfriend loves to read and she gets really involved with her books she is reading, and she usually rants and raves about them. It was never a problem until about 3 months ago. She started to read a lot of romance novels. This happens at least twice a week. She has started to project things onto me. For instance, if she is mad at someone in the book, she gets mad at me. Some days she will tell me not to speak to her and criticize me. I would be wondering what I did wrong and try to talk to her, and she will just leave the room. The next day she will sheepishly tell me that she had been mad about something that happened in the book. She also sometimes gets mad at me and points out something really romantic the lead may have done for the woman, and she gets upset at me for not being that romantic. This is easier to deal with as I just have to be romantic and smooth talk her a bit, which I love to do anyway. Having to figure if it's a real issue or just her being angry about a book is hard, and she gets even more annoyed if I ask her if it is about the book. I have been just ignoring it because I never thought it would be a huge issue. I had a horrible day at work and I was pretty crushed and exhausted. I greeted her and she ignored me, and I asked her if she was actually mad at me or if she was sulking about a book. She told me to F off. I wanted to tell her how bad it had been, but I really couldn't after she dismissed me like that. I decided to just rest and play games since I was really tired and didn't want to cook. I ordered food for us and I was gaming when she asked me if I was making dinner, and I told her I was too tired to cook and had ordered food. She loves to eat home cooked food and is not a fan of eating out in general, and she called me lazy. I snapped that maybe one of her imaginary boyfriends could cook for her because I was too tired to do it. She refused to eat the food I delivered and she went to bed hungry, and I feel like such a jerk right now. I feel terrible that I upset her, and I know that I should have dealt with this maturely and not tried to insult her.
Well, Amber, what do you think of this one?
This is just such an interesting thing. Like, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
so I am a pretty big reader, and I definitely understand getting really into your books. And Brian can tell you when I'm reading a book, if I have strong feelings about it, I will rant and rave to him
Hmm.
for a very long time about it.
And she also does this exact same thing
No,
where
I don't.
she gets angry at me for no
No,
reason.
I don't. Then so like the thing is you have to be able to separate reality from fiction though. Like
No, you don't.
sometimes I am really upset by the choices the characters make, but I don't read a lot of romance though. I read mostly horror, so maybe when I get that new romance book in that I ordered,
Yeah.
then I'll be like, Brian, why are you not a tenure track professor? Why are you not doing? No, I'm just being silly.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Um,
well, what book are you reading? You're going to be reading?
it's called The Love Hypothesis.
Okay.
So it's a recent release. It's an academic romance. I ordered it through Once Upon a Book Club, so I'm really excited for this one.
She's been talking about it. I didn't remember the title because I'm not a romantic person, I guess.
You don't read the title of any of my books
That's not
or
true.
remember them.
I remember I don't remember any off the top of my head.
Yeah, see that shows you right there.
But I typed your journal thing, so I should remember something.
You should, yes. He's been because my arms are injured. He's been typing my journal entries for me, and I'll tell him what book I've been reading, and he types it every night. So, um, but
But we're on a tangent
Yeah, it's
here.
a little bit of a tangent.
Let's
To
draw
get
ourselves back to the
to the
conversation at hand.
conversation, it's important to separate yourself, like the reality from the fiction.
It's important to indulge in the fictional reality and blame your
No,
partner
you don't.
for the things
No,
that happen in
you
your book.
can't hold your
And
partner accountable for what some. I mean,
this is exactly like if you were to have a dream.
no.
And if you were to have a dream and your partner had done something in the dream that was bad, they are responsible for what they did in your dream. So you should hold it against them.
All right, I'm holding it against you that you shaved your beard in my dream last night and you looked like a 12-year-old.
Apparently Amber's upset about me shaving my beard in her dream. It grew back fast. And apparently I used like some kind of like hair growth. Hair like a bunny, rabbit,
Yeah.
hair.
But no. Yeah, so in all seriousness, like she is going too far when she projects these characters onto her boyfriend.
Sure, I can understand her being invested. I can understand her being like, really, really invested in wanting something good to happen in a book. And when it doesn't go her way, I can understand why she would be frustrated by that. But this isn't her boyfriend's fault.
Right, like he did not write the book.
Yeah.
He's not, did not create these characters. He's not making them do the things they are doing. Like, because I've read books where I've basically like chucked them across the room at the end, and like, or when I get to a certain part, and like I'm very frustrated. But I can separate that I can be mad at the author for making such poor choices. I can be mad at the characters for making such poor choices. But I don't bring that into my real life beyond venting to Brian about how could the author do this.
That's completely true. I'm not being forced to say this.
And so yeah, and the romantic thing I think I want to touch on briefly, like it's fine to like romantic gestures, but like you can't expect your partner to like know what's in your books and like anticipate that. Like I mean, I feel like he has to like get the book before her and like read all the romantic gestures and like plan them all out. Like if you want romantic gestures that are outside the normal repertoire, like it's fine if you want romance in your life, but if you can't just expect your partner to like read your mind and be like, why didn't you do this thing? Why didn't you rent me a hot air balloon and propose to me with like, skylights, or I don't know, like some of these, a lot of the romance tropes, like they mess up really badly. Like I have there are good romance books and there are bad romance books, and so many of them, the lead male character does something really awful and like splits everything up and then like makes this huge sweeping romantic gesture to win her back, and it's just like I don't know. I could talk about books all day, every day. So but yeah, I would say he's mostly not the jerk here. Like, yeah, he could have handled the situation a little better, but he was tired and stressed, and she is.
Yeah, and she didn't. Yeah, she didn't cut him any slack today.
Yeah.
She could have put her feelings aside for a little while and comforted her boyfriend who had a really hard day, instead of sulking and taking it out on him. And I just think it's unfortunate. And hopefully they can work through their problems in the future and figure out better solutions. So healthier solutions, how to deal with their differences.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right, folks. That's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thanks to Amber for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Happy Friday.
Yes, happy Friday.
Hopefully you folks are going to have a good weekend. Hopefully you have a nice, restful weekend and stay healthy and stay, happy.
Yeah, and do you have any plans for the weekend?
Yeah, let me know what kind of plans you have.
We don't really have a lot of plans. I'll be writing and reading.
And I'll probably be writing too. So, yeah. Well, let us know what you plan on doing. Hopefully it's a little different from what we're doing.
Unless that's what you like. I mean...
No, it needs to be different from us.
No, I mean, if people like writing
No, it
and
needs
reading,
to be different.
Do all the writing and reading you want. You have my permission.
You don't have my permission.
You don't need Brian's permission.
Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all on Monday.
Bye!